He straightens his bow one more time as he feels the choke of it again. His suit doesn't fit, but he doesn't complain. This world has never been his friend. A triple knock at the chamber door signals an hour left of this life he's leaving behind. The entourage is unrolling a silver carpet downstairs, waiting for his gargoyle bride to make him their kind. Behind him, in the mirror, a porter pries open the door and slides a glittery box to rest aside the other gifts. He wonders where it could have come from. The others have no ribbon at all, proud symbols of thrift. His mirror has a crack from that time it fell in the woods. But it's fitting, he told his sister, because I'm a bit cracked too. She nodded in agreement, as sisters often do, saying this is just how gargoyles are. We're smelly, hairy, and hunchbacked too. His fairy's tender laugh suddenly ripples through him, and an electrical current awakens something inside him. It's been 2 years since he left her at the edge of the woods. Months since there's been something to remind him. "Don't look now, my love. You're not the monster you think you are," comes her soft, breathy voice that so gently haunts him. Intuition says she's right, but he's still in fight or flight, and he has yet to reach a place her words don't still taunt him. A shake of his head returns him to his room, and an intuitive nudge turns his head to the left, where his eyes hasten from the mirror to the window. Across the courtyard, he sees a brute watching his bride from below, a grin on his face like a lover in a trance. Something familiar in this moment. His heart is now in limbo. Looking up, he sees her watching him just as intently, a smile on her face he's never seen. Reserved for someone else, of course. He can see clearly now what this means. Leaving his coat, he rushes down the stairs and across the snow. He races up to her room and bursts in to face her. She cackles at him the way she did last night when he had doubts, and she said he'd never replace her. Grabbing her by her hand, he asks about the beast. Mouth stuffed with muffin. She seems to want to savor it. He asks her again, but her eyes dart away as she swallows. "Oh, don't be silly. You know you're my favorite." His stomach drops as he remembers what his brother once said. Something about an old lover of hers. What did he mean? What does he not know, and how long has he not known it? How did he not see this is who she's always been? His brother had been the one to introduce them. The family all in knots about his hopeless love for a fairy. This family of gargoyles, so sure he'd be ruined, she'd see him for the beast that he is, and he would never marry. This gargoyle princess was more like him, they said. She'd wallow in the mud with him, never ask anything more of him, and with her, he would never leave and disown them. He'd forget the fairy soon enough, and never worry about losing her love, because here he was everything the mirrors have shown him. He suddenly remembers the shimmering box left by the porter, and he races back to his room to find it. Boots leaving a trail in the melting snow, he nearly slips on the steps of the stone, desperate to get at the wrapping and see what's behind it. He claws at the paper thicker than fabric, revealing a glass this kingdom has never seen before. Beams of light fill the chamber, washing away the rest of his anger, and he sees the mirror that has been sent from across the shore. It's the fairy's mirror, with the ornate gilded edges, the one she had so proudly hung in her hall. He saw himself in it every time he visited her, and each time he left her he felt 10 feet tall. He jumps back for a moment, an old fear pulling at his wounded heart. But the prince in the glass stares back, his jaw firm with pride. What has he done, and how to undo it? He doesn't belong here in this dreary old fortress. This isn't his life, and that isn't his bride. A clamor of claws comes skittering into his chamber, his family all in arms at the news of the bride's other lover. "You can't back out now," says his brother, and his father implores, "Never in this life will there ever be another." The prince looks at the mirror again as it leans against the wall. He sees his shimmering humanity, the absence of his depravity, and smiles at the brilliance of his fairy's trickster mind. She didn't send this gift just for him. It wasn't a flighty thing done on a whim. She's always had a purpose for everything, all this time. With a grin, The prince grabs hold of the mirror and tells his family to hold very still and not to look away. He turns the glass to face his dubious clan and watches their faces alight with wonder and dismay.